Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Serenity. It's a movie starring everyone from Firefly. Alright, so as always, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off the furry, there isn't any. Moving along. So, hopefully you've seen my review of Firefly. If you haven't, it's in the description down below. I'm not going to spoil this movie, but I am going to spoil Firefly. So, with that said, let's get into it. This movie is absolutely fantastic. As I said in my Firefly review, the CGI got a little fuzzy after a few years of time and better CGI. But man, when you get to the CGI in this movie, like it is, oh man, Serenity is just so gorgeous in this movie. Just every exterior shot just pops. It's just absolutely awesome. I also love Mr. Universe's like planet thing. I don't really understand how he's able to get the signal out from that thing, but it's still a cool thing. And I just go with it because I'm like, sure, yeah, that'll be a thing that amplifies the signal. Why not? Whatever, yeah, let's do it. And the different ships that they show in this movie is just oh, so good. And much like with the show, they did enough exterior shots that you're like, okay, this is real. And that opening, once again, I can tell there was a couple of cuts, like some swipe cut type things. But the fact that they were able to shoot it, I think basically two shots where I could see the one cut. And the fact that, you know, they once again, from the trivia, I heard that they tore down the set and they had to remake the sets for this. But just the fact that once again, they have just these two gigantic sets where you go from, you know, the cockpit near the crew quarters, the engine room, then you go down and you have the kitchen and you have the cargo space and the the medical bay and the stairways to Inara's and the other shuttle, like all of that. And I love that the opening shot is just establishing like, hey, you know how we made like the whole ship? Well, this is the whole ship. Look, we can do one continuous shot throughout this whole ship because that is how amazing this set is, and that's how amazing Serenity is. So that level of dedication was just awesome. You have almost all of the characters that you know and love from the first one, pretty much how they were. What I will say is that, and this is in the opening bit, so again, I'm not really spoiling anything, but in Firefly, there was this whole thing about how, like, I don't know, by episode 2 or 3, and, you know, it's like, why don't we kick the fugitives off because there's what's making everybody chase us, and he's just like, no, you're on my crew. Just, why are we still having this discussion? You're part of my crew. Let's go. Come on. And sure, Jane was like, why are they here? And he's like, because they're part of our crew. And so I felt like there was that dynamic going on for most of the show where it's like, hey, no, they are part of my crew. Malcolm is like, they are my crew. And that's it. That's the end of the discussion. And yeah, and then Jane is one being like, but why? And maybe trying to push them off. And so there was that dynamic. But in this, I felt like they had to do away with some of that to give tension and to give a reason for some of this stuff. I also felt like they rewrote a little bit of River Tam's backstory. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the rewrite, but after just having rewatched the show, I'm just like, we found out a couple of different things from how you're showing and describing it here. So some of those, there's a little bit of continuity that, like, I'm just like, that doesn't quite match, but I so very much enjoyed the backstory and how they showed it and developed it in this movie that I didn't mind so much that there was that break. But the thing that I was talking about with the crew and whatnot was that they start off with like, hey, River Tam and Simon are, you know, they're looking to get kicked off of Serenity because he's like, you know, you brought a lot of, you're making life difficult for us and you brought a lot of things bad on us and you know, maybe we're going to have to kick you off because that's just the way things are. Like, Malcolm is just very angry and getting to the point of kicking them off. And yeah, there's a bit of time, but even in some time in this movie, he says something about like 8 months you've been on my boat. So that, I feel like we were with them in those 14 and a half episodes for quite a few weeks, maybe months. And so I don't see the change in whatever time Firefly ended to when Serenity started to have him have such an attitude change. But I realized that they needed that for the push of the movie. And I will say, if for some reason you haven't seen my review of Firefly and you're still trying to decide if you want to see Serenity. When I first saw these things, I was like, I hate Westerns, I'm not interested. And somebody was like, look, just watch Serenity. If you're not willing to watch that, just watch Serenity, and if you don't like it, fine. But if you do, then you really want to watch Firefly. And guess what? I watched Serenity first and was like, this movie is absolutely amazing. And so I went and watched the show, and I'm like, this show is even better. So just if you're skeptical, give this space western movie a shot, because there is more action, there is much better CGI, there's a wider set of interesting sets and characters and technology that you get to see, because you get to see a bit more of the core in this than you do on a TV show budget in 2004 or whatever. So, but the music is still excellent in this. The characters are awesome. I do feel like the movie did a disservice to a couple of the characters, because in the show, we wanted to find out more about them, and then in this, we don't get to find out more about them. And there was also a thing that happened that I feel like was kind of unforgivable, Joss Whedon, okay? God, why? Why you gotta do that, man? Why? Just, there was so many other options that you could have done. Just, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to tell you more, because then you'll be angry and just know. Just know. Just know. Okay. Moving on. Overall, the pace in this movie I felt was good. I loved the combat in this. They had a movie budget, so they had better CGI, and they had better fisticuffs combat on it. And they also had, really good firefight type things. But it's still within this realm and still within the world. Like, it felt like it was definitely within the same universe. Like, it wasn't this gigantic change, and how are we even still in the same, space western universe? Like, it was definitely that universe. Now we're in a movie with it, and we get to see a little bit of glimpse of, like, hey, that they've been living their life, and they have other people that we didn't meet in the show. And so getting to see that was kind of fun. And the interactions between the characters is just phenomenal. And I like how the movie ended for the most part. I thought that they did a good job of tying up certain loose ends, but not solving absolutely everything. I'm very sad that this movie did not make enough money to then continue the show. What happened, everyone in the U.S. or world? You sent in and you campaigned and you wrote letters and everything else to make it so that Fox finally pulled their head out of their ass and plopped down $40 million for this movie. Then, where were you? Why didn't you see this movie 5 times in theaters to get that money to show them that it was viable? Now, it's too late. The magic, the moment has passed. You can't just bring all these actors back. They are older. It wouldn't work as well. But man, it would have been awesome to see a season 2 of Firefly. But that being said, I am still glad that we got this movie Serenity, because I feel that it was definitely firing on all cylinders. It had the same lovable scamps that we had in this one, with, continued character development, even though a couple of the characters, just because of, the movie needing to shave things off, didn't get quite as much. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this, and I think this is the first movie I saw him in, and I'm just like, oh man, this guy is so awesome. I want to see him in more things, and I'm glad that I've gotten to see him in more things. So I hope his career continues its upward trajectory, because he is fantastic in this and has been fantastic in some of the other movies that I've seen him in. So yeah, that's really all I have for this one. Is that it's 2 thumbs way up, one of the best movies ever. I think it still holds up. The CGI is just phenomenal with this. It just pops, especially once you compare to Firefly, which Firefly, if you haven't seen it, it has good enough CGI for what it needs to accomplish. But man, is it rocking this one. Okay, and they also did more things interesting with the lighting, and they spruced it up. They gave people a little bit more to their costumes, and it's just a little bit more for everything in this. I guess I did have more to say, but just go and see this. I think you'll enjoy it, and let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. Do you think the show was better? Do you think the movie was better? Just whatever you want to talk about. Firefly, Serenity, it's all good. All right, that's all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.